Let's talk about a few reasons why I consider PC to be the ultimate gaming platform. So I've been playing video games for 30-something years, and in that time I flip-flopped between PC and just about every console a number of times. I'm currently sitting here with PC and consoles and once again trying to decide which one I really want to spend my limited gaming time on. So let's talk about a few reasons why I consider PC to be the best platform for gaming. I'm most generally an audio-videophile. While I certainly started to sway more towards convenience and simplicity in my life, I have preferred to see my video only lightly compressed, my audio lossless and multi-channel, and from a pure gaming performance perspective, PC really stands above everything. I will give an honorable mention though to the new generation of consoles finally, as with the Series X and the PlayStation 5, we actually have a console generation pushing some hardware performance boundaries, so that is nice. But that said, the absolute number one reason I would choose to PC game over a console is horsepower. As such, when I built my current gaming PC, I went full high-end, RTX 3090, Intel i9, 32 gig of RAM, and a PCI Gen 4 solid state drive. With this kind of system, we're talking maximum settings, native 4K, and 60 FPS for the most part across the board. And with PC, I would be a first adopter of any new GPUs and such to stay on that cutting edge when they come out. I like performance, but I'm really not a huge fan of tuning. Worrying about whether I need to use DLSS or whatever. I'd rather just buy the maximum parts, assemble the system, and let me turn the cranks to maximum settings and just be done with it. So a lot of folks that make this kind of gaming performance comparison on the technology side usually talk about frame rate and high frame rates. But I game on TVs and projectors, and as such, I'm not really into a need for super high frame rate. 60 FPS is my default target, although the Sony TV can make 120. As such though, to me, it's the visual impact of maximizing settings in native 4K that makes all the difference, and I don't think that gets enough focus. Even new generation consoles are increasingly making 60 FPS in games, but it's at limited resolutions, and more unfortunately, it's at lower overall graphics settings. I'll put up a few comparisons, including Batman Arkham Knight, Totally Reliable Delivery Service, a game my kids really like, and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which I've been tinkering with lately. These are fully maxed out on my PC versus the same game on the Xbox Series X in the pictures that'll be showing up in the video here. So Batman is an older title last gen and it hasn't received a new generation patch. Delivery Service was recently upgraded and overhauled, and Fallen Order of course did get a new generation patch. The difference though is striking when it comes to detail, lighting, sharpness, and so on, and this is really again the number one reason I'm drawn to PC, and I have the hardest time leaving it for a console. You really do get performance on PC, but of course you pay for it. I would absolutely kill for an $800, even $1,000 super premium console from Sony and Microsoft, and something more powerful and more expensive from Nintendo as well. A second big element of PC gaming for me has to do with my game library, and particularly my backlog. I have so many great games from the last years that I haven't played, going back to the last console generation. If I look at my last years of gaming, I spent some time getting back into World of Warcraft, and I put a ton of time into Destiny, leaving all kinds of single player and other great games on the sides for these game as a service type titles. So many of these older games though remain unpatched on a console. No upgrades, no boosts, and so on. On PC though, any of these games can run native 4K, fully maxed out, 60 FPS, or even more with this type of PC hardware. It just takes a weight off of the backlog to know that I can choose to play anything I want from that library, and all of those existing games are built because of PC hardware to only get better at time natively. No need for developer time, attention, or patches or anything. Games on PC are just not lost to a yesteryear of drab performance from a generation ago and just stuck there forevermore. So while props do go to Sony and really more so to Microsoft for trying to natively boost and enhance old titles, it's just not the same result you get as running a backlog title on a PC. FPS boost on Series X might get 60 frames per second out of an old 30 FPS game, which is awesome, but I want a resolution boost and I want an ultra setting boost along with the frame rate boost. On PC, there's just no worry about it at all. You get everything. A third big reason PC calls to me specifically is the opportunity for it to be a veritable one ring of gaming platforms. I've really tried to bring more simplicity and, say, minimalism into my life, particularly with what I own and what I use, by removing and reducing physical things. While overall an Uber gaming PC is more expensive, I was trying hard to reduce my source devices down to just an Apple TV, which we use for all of our content streaming and some gaming as well, the PC for my priority and my main gaming platform, and a Kaleidescape also just in our theater room. Going console automatically for me means having all three, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. That's 3 boxes with essentially the same parts just to play different games, versus pooling all of that money into a single piece of more powerful hardware that can play all kinds of games, one CPU, one GPU, etc., although it will be more expensive. And PC now gets so many titles. Microsoft is fully foundational on PC now, so a PC is really an Xbox for all intents and purposes. Sony games are coming, and I wait with massive impatience to see a release schedule out of Sony to bring their host of great titles over, with some commitment of newer PS5 era titles as well eventually. Nintendo is the only odd company out that doesn't have a direct path to gaming on PC. However, the ability to enjoy Nintendo games through emulation is there. Emulation is now even close to making pretty much all the Switch era titles fully viable. So I don't advocate piracy, and if I were to use a Nintendo emulator on my computer, I would purchase the games I'm playing also from the Nintendo eShop so that Nintendo gets the money for making those titles. But programs like Yuzu and such are really close to making PC be the One Ring. This is a bit tenuous though, and not really 100% reliable as the times that I've experimented with it, and who knows if, when, or how any next generation Nintendo system games might be emulatable, speaking specifically of an upgraded Switch Pro type game, which will come at some point. Of course, I'd still rather see Nintendo also embracing PC natively at some point. Maybe it'll happen, maybe not. I wouldn't hold my breath though if they remain successfully profitable on their own platforms. But if you look back only a few years ago, who would have expected everything about Xbox to be on PC, let alone now a roadmap or a promised roadmap of PlayStation games? So let's see what the next few years hold as well. So ultimately, and in summary, PC for me represents this one single mecca of gaming platforms, capable of keeping all my backlog game library the most viable with the ultimate in performance. That's the big reasons for me that make re-abandoning PC for consoles so hard. I'll also give kind of a short honorable mention to a couple other PC related ideas. One, I'm a TV, couch, console style gamepad player, but PC nowadays really makes this playstyle essentially viable. Connectivity to TVs is much better, and gamepad support is pretty well universal on PC games nowadays too. You still need that little wireless keyboard-mouse combo around, of course, but really just for command and control. Second for me is tinkering and building PCs is still often fun. I'm an engineer and I do like hardware. There's a satisfaction to speccing and assembling a killer system that just doesn't come when you buy a console. I do go back and forth on what's more minimalist though, a single big, more expensive, more complex PC, or 3 somewhat redundant but simpler plug-and-play devices. Still, the gaming PC is the last audio-video item that's not just plug-and-play across my tech life, and the one thing that I still have to kind of tinker and crank on. So that's still fun at times. So my plan is to make a several episode series out of these ideas, perhaps talking next time about reasons other people prefer PC, which I don't, and reasons in general actually that I don't like PC, that it's kind of frustrating as well. In addition, maybe making videos about pros and cons for playing in console in general or the console platforms specifically. Hopefully these discussions help you decide the best gaming platform or platforms for you, and after talking about it more formally, maybe I'll actually make a decision and stick to 1 or 3. Tune in for more and let me know what you think about gaming on PC. Thanks.